Now I don't have to worry if I forget anything. Anyway, okay, so here's my story. I have always been afraid of marriage. And I've been afraid of marriage because of my parents. My parents had the worst divorce in marriage I think I've ever seen. My father stereotypically began to see his secretary while still married with my mother, but he added an extra creepy twist by taking us 4 young children along to meet his date for skiing and water skiing and other fun activities. Not like that wasn't going to cause a lot of therapy. Anyway, this family affair went on for years before my father finally left my mother. And by that point, in my 9-year-old mind, I thought, this marriage thing is not for me. So for 47 years, I was happily single. And I went to the doctor and I received the terrifying news that not only did I have breast cancer, I had cancer that had gone beyond the breast, so that I was in the advanced cancer class. I looked it up later on the internet. It was not good. Google gave me its condolences. So, but luckily I was not clicking with this death thing, so I decided I was going to go into this treatment and I was going to survive, and somehow, miraculously, I did. So after a year of hard treatment time, I began to go back to my life. Just before I was diagnosed, I went on the worst date ever. I had met the gentleman at a coffee shop for our date, and I discovered that he was a sociopathic politico. And he was so proud of his evil accomplishments that he began to list them in detail. And after an hour of this demonic resume listing, I was tempted to say, "You're hired," and then get up and walk out the door. Luckily, the date ended and I was able to breathe again. So, after the year of hard treatment time, I had decided that things were still uncertain, but I did not want this date with Dr. Political Destruction to be my last dating experience before I shuffled off this mortal coil. So I took out a personal ad. And I went on several dates, and I met a very nice gentleman, and we went on several pleasant dates, but eventually we went our own separate ways. But I had achieved my goal. I had gone on a couple pleasant dates, my job was done, I could have taken the personal ad down and been done with it. But I am cheap. I had paid for this 3 months personal ad membership at a discount, and I was determined to let that thing run out until its final bitter end. Another gentleman replied just before it expired, and after several emails, he invited me on a date. And I thought, what the heck? He seems nice. He has cats. He looks like he has nice friends based on his photos. So I accepted. So for this date, we met at a different coffee shop. And this time there was no resume listing. Instead, we talked about plays and movies and hiking and other things that we enjoyed doing. The date lasted 3 hours. He asked me out again. So, what the heck? I went again. And after 2 more dates, I realized I really liked this guy. But, as with an STD, I felt it was important to tell him about my health status. I told him while we were parked near the Capitol, the U.S. Capitol, of course, because every D.C. dating story needs to have one parking session near the D.C. Capitol. And I was honest, and I told him that I was doing well, but things were still uncertain, and cancer would impact me for the rest of my life. His next question was, "When can I see you again?" This was a sweet and brave soul. So Jeff and I went out for several more months, and the relationship developed. And even though I am afraid of commitment, I am a human being with human relationship fears. So we were walking down the street one day, and I said, I don't expect us to get married. I don't even expect us to live together. But at some point, I am going to ask you to tattoo my name on your ass. His next response was, would a ring do instead? I was shocked. Not only was the reply clever, but he was telling me that he wanted to stay with me long term, a thought that terrified me. So, how did I get past this fear? To tell you the truth, the one thing that I had not told Jeff until I actually told him this story was that I was afraid of choosing a partner and then discovering years later that I'd made the wrong choice and then leave that partner in devastation. No crying children, no step-parents, no financial destruction for me. But I thought to myself, you know, considering my health, I might not be around for a long-term thing. It's dark, but it worked for me. So as I mentioned, I am very lucky when it comes to this cancer thing. What I deal with has been responding to treatment, and there are several more things in the bucket for me to try. But I still tend to think in terms of a couple of years versus decades. So it was really to my surprise when I saw my oncologist lately, and she said to me that she expected me to be around another decade. I was shocked in the same way that I was shocked when Jeff and I finally did get married. And we had deposited our newly signed marriage certificate for official recording, and Jeff joked, "Now you can't get away. We're officially married." I panicked. I began to hyperventilate, and I told him that we needed to get somewhere fast so I could sit down, have a drink, and chill. A decade, I could barely think of the next 2 years. But I have to tell you, this is it. This is my one and done. The thought of arranging another giant party called a wedding again, I'm not going to do that. I have one word for you: elope. So Jeff it is, from here until whenever. I can't imagine being with anyone else. So Jeff, the man I jokingly refer to as my first husband, my only husband, my one and done.